Casey Wagner. I'm a reporter at Blockworks. We're here at Bretton Woods in the historic Gold Room where the Bretton Woods papers were signed, and I'm joined by Greg Foss. Thank you for being here.
That's so happy to be here, and I actually didn't know this is the room that they signed the papers in. So
yeah,
that's something.
Any food or drink in here?
Well,
very. There's also no air conditioning, so.
Well, I'm good with that. If I start sweating, you're going to have to pass me a little Kleenex, if that's all right.
So we've been at the conference for 2 days. There have been so many amazing panels, lots of great discussion about the future of traditional finance, how crypto is going to play into that. What are some of your key takeaways?
Well, first of all, you guys did a fantastic job. This is an absolutely beautiful spot. I just like the people. I'm going to tell you 2 stories about how small this community is, but how important it is. All right. So last night I had the privilege of being a keynote speaker with a group in El Salvador that's implementing the merchant solution to the Bitcoin being accepted as legal tender. Okay, and that has to be implemented by September 7th. So this is real life, boots on the ground implementation in El Salvador. Jeff Booth was kind enough to drop into my room around 9:35. I think he dropped in, said to the guys down in El Salvador, hey, I'm Jeff Booth, we want to support you however possible. But prior to that, you guys were having your reception on the deck, that beautiful deck outside, and I happened to come across a guy by the name of Chris Hunter who I'd never met before, and he says, I mentioned to him, I'm talking to people in El Salvador. He goes, hey, I'm going to El Salvador tomorrow. Okay. I go, who are you talking to? And before he even told the name of the company, I go, Jose, Mario, and Carlino? He goes, yes. And so he happened to be here, and that's 1 degree of separation on people that are working in El Salvador, because he's going down tomorrow with his company. So 1 degree of separation there, that's my first story. The second story is Lawrence Leopard, or Larry, that I met. I had known him on Twitter, but meeting him here, it's amazing the dovetail and the things that we're talking about now that we share. Lawrence is not converted, he's still a gold bug, but he sees the potential for Bitcoin in his gold portfolio, who is open-minded. He's a great risk manager, which means he's not Peter Schiff, okay? It means that he's not a gold manager that refuses to believe that Bitcoin has a spot in a portfolio where you're 99% of the way there, but you refuse to believe that Bitcoin has a spot. It's a little shot at Peter Schiff, but it's the truth, because, conflicted advice by professional money managers is not good for the world. And then finally, I just love the people I've met here. It's invigorating for me, an old 58-year-old man, to meet young kids that are gonna really change the world. And so I love that sort of environment. That's what I'll take away from it.
Definitely, and it's such an exciting time in the industry. I was in Miami, I know you were as well.
Okay.
They announced the El Salvador news, and
it was electric, right? And I just happened to be on the stage. So going back to that, I was on the stage early in the morning, and I actually called out these guys from Guatemala that had seeked me out in Miami, because they wanted to do Bitcoin Lake, which was built on the Bitcoin beach in El Salvador. Right. So I had a moment to shout them out on stage, real life, boots on the ground, changing lives in Central America. And 6 hours later on the same stage, Jack Mallers makes the announcement, I just onboarded a country. And these guys in Guatemala are only a 3-hour drive from El Salvador. They've all of a sudden become the experts now in El Salvador. So just things are happening really quickly. Jeff Booth will say something like, don't project where you are now into the future, because things change really quickly. And yeah, it's important. And the young kids are the people that get it more than anybody, because they're not stuck with old syndrome, Peter Schiff syndrome. Well, let's call it that.
I like that. Well, speaking of Bitcoin, you have a pretty high price target.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone here is talking about it.
Okay.
What is it?
How do I get it there?
How do you defend it?
So quite easily, actually. So first of all, I traded credit my whole life. I try and play probabilities. I'm going to give you the price target, but it doesn't mean I'm 100% certain it's going there. I'm going to tell you it's within the realm of my probability analysis. Fair? So the way I came at it is, nothing too difficult. Total global financial assets in the world are US $900 trillion, okay? It's real estate, global debt, equities, commodities, gold, fine art, and I might have missed one or two there, but all told, it adds up to 900 trillion US dollars. Those are Institute of International Finance numbers, okay? I don't make this up. And it's actually, they're dated. They're based in 2018 or 2019 numbers. But that's the total value of global financial assets, 900 trillion. Now, I have mentioned that I believe that Bitcoin is going to be used to price energy. Right. And if that happens, I bring on the idea that it could be considered a global reserve asset. So if that outcome does in fact take place, is it crazy to think that Bitcoin could capture 5% of $900 trillion? I don't think it's crazy at all. So then you do your quick math. What's 900 trillion divided by 21 million? Excuse me, what's 45 trillion? Because 900 trillion times 5%, right, is 45 trillion. 45 trillion divided by 21 million. $2 million of Bitcoin. There you go. What if it's 10%? Oh, my target's now $4 million.
Well, how do we get there? How does Bitcoin?
Well, again, it's so, look, I firmly, as an engineer, I believe that pricing energy in Bitcoin is just a beautiful solution, right, to the first law of thermodynamics. If you're Putin, are you actually happy you're selling your oil for fiat US dollars? Or would you rather be paid in digital energy, which is Bitcoin? So natural resource energy for digital energy, perfect store of value, the best, hardest money ever created by mankind? I don't know. As an engineer, absolutely. Right. I will take digital energy for my natural gas, or my natural resource energy. So he might be the first one to break the petrodollar. He's no fan of the petrodollar. Yeah. And all of a sudden, doesn't matter. There's other oil-producing countries that aren't part of, you know, the petrodollar system. Right. Again, you got to play probabilities. So let me just take my price target and take it one step further. Is that fair? So my $2 million price possibility, how's that? I'm not going to give you a time when it gets there.
You know you're on the record now.
I'm all good. Look, I wrote my paper on this. It's in my paper. I do not need to defend it. I'm out. I've said this many times. So if that is my potential price target, then you play another probability game. And I did that yesterday, but I want to follow on in the thing. If my price target's $2 million or higher of Bitcoin, and the current trading value of Bitcoin today is, to make my math easy, is $40,000, okay? I know it's a little higher, but if it's $40,000 today, and it's $2 million potential in the future, you need to figure out what the probability the market is giving you right now that it'll attain that. And the answer is very simple. The market's telling you there's a 98% chance it's going to zero, and a 2% chance it's going to $2 million or higher. I like those odds. I will take those odds all day long because asymmetric trades define careers. I did it for 35 years. I promise you I've never seen a better asymmetric trade opportunity. Is it saying I'm right? No. But for 2% likelihood, right, I'm a buyer. My eyes are closed and I'm a buyer. Is that fair? Like Michael Saylor now. But it's easy. Yeah, it's only math. Definitely. Okay? It's about playing probabilities. And you're never 100% certain about anything, generally, except one thing, and I said it yesterday as well. I am 100% certain fiat currencies will continue to debase, actually on an accelerated basis now. That also is only mathematical.
Countering that, what is your or investors or naysayers that are skeptical of digital assets that claim that it's not secure, it's volatile, it's...
Yeah, intellectual laziness. I hate to say it in either way. Look, my first...
An education problem is what you're saying.
Some of them just don't even want to be educated. They think they have all the answers right now, and it can't possibly be this. But those are the guys that, if you're on a trading floor, those are the guys that get carted off a trading floor, okay? They stick to their guns. They're in a losing position. I've actually seen a guy get carted off a trading floor because he had a heart attack right in front of me, okay? So literally, sometimes when you're under that much pressure because you're on the wrong side of a trade, So these are the types of people that get on the wrong side of a trade. And rather than reversing their position, like any smart trader does, they either add to a losing position, okay, and make the matters worse, or they do nothing, which is almost even worse. Like, oh, it'll come back. It'll come back. No. You don't manage risk that way, okay? When the information changes, you change your position. Peter Schiff has lost so much money, not just for all his clients, but how about just for himself as well?
Right.
God darn it. He was 99% of the way there, but was too stubborn. Now, maybe just for his business, he doesn't own Bitcoin and he's secretly amassing it. Maybe, but that's conflicted, okay? Because a lot of people follow his advice.
So kind of on that same note, we're in a really interesting regulatory environment. What is your expectation? I know in the US, we have this bill in Congress right now. What's your expectation for the next 5 years? Do you think that the industry...
Regulators come around. I was involved in a startup company in Canada. I was a founding shareholder called 3IQ, where we actually had to take the Ontario Securities Commission to court to win the right to launch a closed-end Bitcoin fund. Now Canada, and we won.
Now you're BTS.
How about that? But we won, and no one gave us a chance to win, and we did. And now Canada is heads and shoulders above the U.S. in offering. So let's talk about the U.S. because that's probably where many of your listeners are from. And there is sorry, I just have. There's the past week in Congress, a lot of people would say that was bad. I actually say it was good because it tells me two things. I do believe now it's too late for Congress to try and ban Bitcoin. And I'll say Congress, Senate. I don't quite understand how your political everything worked. But the Senate got somewhere, but then something got peeled back because, well, it's at the House, but it had to go through the Senate first. But Senator Shelby, who seemed like he's from the 1800s because he voted for war or military spending over vouching for this. Anyway, I don't quite understand. All I always say is there was back and forth. There was real conversation from smart senators like Cynthia Lummis, really good discourse on various news networks. Some of them were biased, we can't let this crypto stuff through, but others were, quite honestly level-headed. I found that to be good. The biggest thing I take away from it, I'll tell you what I take away. The Bitcoin will never go to zero, even though I laid it out in that scenario, 2% and 98% it goes to zero. Now, all of a sudden, after that weekend, I actually think the left-hand side of my distribution is way higher than zero because they're not going to ban it.
Right.
If they try to now, in my opinion, only my opinion, after what they just went through, I think there'd be an uprising in the US. 50 million Americans own this.
Right.
And you saw what 50 million Americans were able to accomplish with 3 senators that supported it. Well, how about if more senators get the message from their constituents? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whoever they are. Yeah. So look, a heck of a week. It was so cool to be here. It is hot. It's hot in this room. I'm just looking around. Things change quickly, and I had the luxury of driving down from Canada with Jeff Booth. So he and I spent 3 hours in the car on the way down, and we're going to spend another 3 hours in the car on the way back. He gets it from a technological. I'm not good on the technology. I'm good enough to understand it. But he started companies based on artificial intelligence. He sees that. He saw where things were going even before, he could have been an Amazon. Like that's how good his AI was. Now, just for some reasons, it didn't quite work out as well as Amazon, but very few things do. The point is, again, he says, don't imagine where you are today. Imagine where you need to be in 10 years. Right. And I'll just summarize it with this. I believe there's going to be 100 years worth of change in the next 10 years. Okay, things are moving too fast. And the world is actually teetering on a little bit of uncertainty here because we're listening to very flawed monetary policy. okay? We cannot stop printing money. That is a certainty. We've reached the point of no return. The problem is these senators don't even understand what it means not to be able to stop. They're going to say, we're going to taper. Guys, you can't. You cannot taper. You taper, the equity market gets destroyed, and your currency gets destroyed, and everything, because it all falls apart. It's only math. We have reached a point where total global debt to global GDP will not allow a taper. It also won't allow interest rates to go any higher. They are here for a long time until there's a major reset. Is that reset involving a currency that exists still, the US dollar, which I want to continue to exist, and Bitcoin? Bitcoin being your store of value savings account. The currency, global reserve currency still, is your checking account. Everybody has a checking account and a savings account. It's not that difficult. Don't overthink this.
No, you're bullish on Bitcoin, we know.
I am bullish on, how about this? I'm bearish on the current system. And for now, the best solution I see is Bitcoin. Okay. But hey, I own some real estate. Right. I own gold, not a lot, but I don't own zero. Okay? I own equities. What I don't own is any bonds. Right. And as a bond trader for 30 years, I will tell you that it is over. All you're going to get in bonds is your 1.30 10-year return in the US Treasury, because that's contractual. You'll get your money back in 10 years. The money that you invested today will only be worth 65% purchasing power, but you'll get your money back. They will very unlikely to default. It's not a 0% chance, but lots of other countries will. And interest rates are where they are. Right. Okay? It's, again, only math.
Well, you mentioned the bill with Congress right now and how significant this crypto part was. And I agree. I mean, it was amazing to see that crypto was really, I mean, it's a $2 trillion bill, and crypto was really
it wasn't it? It was neat. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what everyone was talking about. That's what was holding it up.
And I need to be honest as well, right? Like I lean towards Bitcoin because it solves the solution, or it solves the problem that I'm most concerned about, which is fiat, accelerating debasement of fiat currency. Right. And I won't end it on this. It's up to you when you want to end it. Everyone thinks they're making money on their house. You're not, you guys. You're not making money on your house. It's just that the unit of account, the US dollar, is declining. So it takes more of those units to buy one house. Fair? If you measured your house price in gold, hasn't moved. If you measured your house price in Bitcoin, well, you probably should have owned a little more Bitcoin and still be happy that you have a house. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how I approach it. I'm flattered to be here and surrounded by, you know, a really great group of people.
Yeah, no, we're thrilled to have you. And like you said, it is a great group.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
More panels to come.
Okay, I look forward to it.